thing. It's like, you know, the guys who like, you know, they go through the drive-through naked or whatever. It's like they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. At some point it worked, like one time it worked. And now it's like, they're chasing the dragon. It's gotta work again. It's gotta work again. So so Ava decides to head back to work, and she's going to go work at the salon. But before she leaves, Boyd wants to have a quick State of the Union conversation, and I have a clip.
Ava, there's something we need to talk about.
Timberly's waiting.
It won't take but a minute. While you were locked up, I had some time to think, time to look around. Harlan's dying. Mine's mostly shut down. Stores closed to closing. No money, no work, not worth having, no offense. People are giving up, selling what they got and moving on. But if there's a chance for us, Ava, it's not here. If I were to come into a good sum soon, would you come away with me?
What are you talking about? Come away where?
Costa Rica, Brazil, maybe someplace they got white sand and blue water.
No, I don't want to hear this. How much money are you coming into, Boyd? I don't want to hear this.
I ain't talking about running from trouble, Ava. Ain't gonna be no trouble. I'm talking about leaving Harlan, escaping.
This is our home, Boyd. The home that we're fixing up. And you want to leave?
If we stay in this ghost town, Ava, together or otherwise, how long you think it's gonna be before we turn into ghosts ourselves?
Are you saying that like we ain't dead already? I gotta go to work.
So as I was rewatching season 6, I started thinking a little bit about kind of what story they're trying to tell here. And it feels to me, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but it feels to me that season 6 is Ava's story. It's not Raylan's story. It's not Boyd's story. It's Ava's story. And that's the real arc that we get in season 6. Do you agree? Do you think that's right? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Well, especially now. I mean, I've seen this whole season, obviously, so now I know where the end point is.
Yeah,
I can see that. I think you know, they tried to make Ava in prison sort of that last season, right? I mean, that was like a big point, but nobody, I don't know. You and I both agree it wasn't that interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think that's a good point.
It feels a lot like Ava's arc, and we get a couple of very key moments from Ava here, and we get Boyd making his kind of irrecoverable villain turn at the end of this episode, right? He there's no coming back from Boyd killing Dewey Crowe at the end of this episode. That shows us, okay, it's no longer, Boyd is no longer an anti-hero. He is now just the villain of the show. And Ava is sort of the one straddling that line now, and she's kind of stepped into that. Is she the good guy? Is she the bad guy? Is she just out for herself? What's actually going on there? So,
and I think that's out of all she's probably the second best or most developed female, I guess. I mean, I guess you could say Max Bennett back in season 2, but her story ended at the end of season 2. But she did change the most. I think I said that like in the very first episode, like her character just definitely has the most development over the course of the whole series.
Oh yeah. Raylan's basically the same guy he was when he comes in. He's the same guy he is when he leaves. Yeah. And Boyd is essentially, I mean, like they literally show Boyd doing the exact same thing he was doing in the second episode of the series at the end of the series. And but Ava has completely changed, completely different life. So it's it's an interesting arc there. But when she steps out to take a smoke break at work, Raylan's there waiting for her. He's been trying to get a hold of her. He's been trying to get some information. She hasn't been returning his calls. He says, hey, you got to return my calls. That's part of the deal here. And tells her, hey, Dewey's going to come talk to Boyd. I want you to keep an eye out for him. Let me know when he does and what they're up to. And Raylan, as predicted, in the next scene, Dewey immediately shows up at Boyd's. Boyd is incredibly suspicious, rightfully so, right? Like, why is Dewey out of jail? This whole concept of saying it was a joke doesn't make any sense at all to anyone. And so Boyd, needs to vet him a little bit. And he asks because Dewey stole a car to get to where he is now. He says, any CD or tape in that car? And he's like, oh yeah, it was ARS Live Champagne Jam, which is Atlanta Rhythm Section, for those who aren't familiar. Absolutely fantastic band, and Paul Goddard plays the bass there and is wonderful. Check out Atlanta Rhythm Section if you haven't already, but yeah, Atlanta Rhythm Section, Champagne Jam. And Dewey wants back in. He tells Boyd, I want back in. I want, ultimately Dewey wants everything to go back to the way it used to be. There's a little bit of a theme of that throughout the season too, right? Of, there's a couple people who realize that things can never go back to the way they used to be, and everybody else is trying to get things to go back to the way they used to be. Yeah. And Dewey is one of those people who wants, he wants the commando days. He wants to be in the old church with the fat guys with their shirts off, chopping wood or whatever.
There is that callback to the first time that Dewey meets Raylan, and he gets his nose broken. I don't know if it was broken, but in the very first time that Dewey meets Raylan at Ava's house. Yeah, there's a callback to that here this time too.
Raylan bashes his face into the steering wheel and he bleeds from his mouth. Again. Yeah, and then this time he does it again. And what a dick move, right? Like such a dick move to break his jaw in that scenario. So. Yeah, there's definitely some parallels here, and you'll actually in our in memoriam segment we'll hear a couple of those moments actually. So, and then let's see here, where are we? Oh yeah, the Marshals. Let's check back in with the Marshals. So Tim and Raylan are using Arlo's place as a base of operations, and they're talking about Cyrus and the potential that Boyd's going to be running drugs because he bought a tow truck. Not realizing that Boyd did that as a decoy, but they are saying, okay, well, we need to look into Cyrus and see what's going on. When a random stranger in a Mercedes pulls up outside in the field outside Arlo's house, and there's a conversation between Raylan and this mystery stranger, and I have a clip of that.
Hey, good morning.
Where are you from?
Maryland.
Way it works hereabouts. A man comes onto another man's land with no seeming purpose. That man might be taken as a trespasser. Might get himself shot.
Just assessing the land, devising a number. Unless I misread the sign on the road. For sale by owner. You are the owner.
De facto.
Might want to reconsider before threatening a potential buyer. House has been on the market for some time. Is that because you can't let it go or because it's stuck in a bad market? You don't strike me as a sentimental type. I'm gonna go with bad market. But I am prepared to pay your full asking price in cash today.
And by today, you mean immediately?
Indeed.
Forgive me if I ain't the run-of-the-mill tater tot whose eyes go all pinwheels at a stack of stolen money.
Stolen? I am offended, sir.
You don't even want to come up and see the house.
I can see it fine from here.
It doesn't have curb appeal. My daddy pretty much having let it go to ruin, but it does have history. My kin moved to this land from Miller's Creek in 1903. A lot of them gave their lives to hold on to it. A couple of them buried. Right up there by the house.
I stand corrected. You are the sentimental type. Alas, all things must pass. What do you say, friend? Isn't it time to sell?
It is time to sell, but not to you.
Well, you have second thoughts, you'll have no trouble finding me.
You have no idea.
Yeah. There's a great moment in that exchange where Ty Walker says, "You don't strike me as the sentimental type," and there's this zoom out shot of Arlo's grave in the background.
Yeah.
It's like, I do like that very much. But yeah, so he's trying to buy land, and we get the impression that he's trying to buy more than just that land. But Raylan's spidey sense immediately goes off. He knows that there's something going on here.
And I think that's also part of the whole thing about, Northerners. Well, I guess would Maryland be considered from the north going to Kentucky?
Only in the strictest sense, I think.
Yeah. The note I had here was like, they say it was like in the morning, but didn't it look like the sun was going down?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. The timing on this show has always been a little bit odd. Like, right? I mean, Dewey gets out of jail, has his encounter with Raylan, gets on a bus back to Harlan, gets to Audrey's, steals a car, goes to a diner where they're still serving breakfast. It's it's very odd, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and that's on the same day that Boyd got up at whatever 5:30 in the morning and went to the bank, and then got to Ava's before she even got out of bed to work on the house. Right, like last I checked, they say the words banker's hours are for a reason, right? They don't open until like 9. So
was that bank supposed to be in Harlan County, or was it in Lexington?
No, I think that bank's in Harlan.
Okay,
or near Harlan.
It looked like that same bank where Winona was, she had
really?
$100. That's what it looked like to me. The interior did, at least.
Just reusing the set or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, so the marshals from there, Tim stays quiet the whole time. I do like he's just standing there in the background as moral support or whatever. But they pay a visit to Cyrus from there, who Tim uses a little subterfuge to get in the front door, and Cyrus decides to run out the back, where he gets shoveled by Raylan. I said shovel. He got hit in the face with a shovel. Yeah. And before announcing himself, Raylan. Again, we're seeing how much Raylan, we knew Raylan was willing to bend the rules. We're seeing a little bit how aggressively Raylan is willing to bend the rules here in order to get Boyd and get back to his daughter, get back to Miami. So,
and Cyrus is the same drug dealer that Dewey brought the heroin back to, right? And
correct.
Then,
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The same guy. So
that guy.
And while that's all going on, Boyd and Carl are trying to figure out how to get the feds off their back, because they need to rob the bank, but they need to make sure that the feds don't catch them robbing the bank. And so Dewey shows up again and presents himself as an opportunity. So they hitch him up with a car to the tow truck, make it look like he's running drugs, and Raylan and Tim fall for it hook, line, and sinker, and they go after Dewey. Meanwhile, Boyd and the gang rob the bank, and it's sort of this quasi-low-tech, quasi-high-tech robbery, right, where Boyd had sprayed some luminol or something on the safety deposit boxes so you could figure out which ones had activity, and hooks up a winch to a truck and pulls off the cover and steals the safety deposit boxes that had been accessed recently. While that's all going on, Raylan and Tim are following Dewey, who comes across a roadblock. I was trying to figure out, was that roadblock for Dewey, or was that roadblock for something else? Because it didn't seem like it was set up in conjunction with the marshals.
It doesn't seem like it at all. It seems like it's just like a random checkpoint.
Yeah, maybe like a DUI checkpoint or something. I don't know. But Dewey, of course,
whatever time in the day.
Right. Yeah. At 3 PM, we have a DUI checkpoint. Dewey comes to the roadblock and panics and decides to run it. So he runs the roadblock. The cops start shooting at him, and eventually Raylan and Tim are the first ones to arrive to get him off the road. The cops don't chase him for whatever reason. But they get him off the road, and they break his jaw. Raylan breaks his jaw, smashing